O my Master, on whose errand I come, illumine the hearts of your faithful people. In Christ's holy name, amen. Many years ago, I had a friend who had taken a job that he really did not want to take. The job was as a computer troubleshooter that you could call on the phone. This may have been before the World Wide Web was launched at the beginning of personal computers. So he gets a call from a computer user who needed help. And my friend had a series of questions he had to ask. It was like a question tree. The answer to each question would lead to perhaps a different question on a different branch of the tree. But at the beginning, these were pretty basic questions, like, is the computer plugged in? And is the computer turned on? So this caller lost his temper, fed up with these initial questions, and yelled through the phone, "Do you think I'm an idiot?" To which my friend politely replied with perfect calm, "No, but you could be." In any number of circumstances, any of us can be responsible. We could be at fault, could be mistaken, could be exaggerating, or in a more positive direction, pointing to blessings or abilities or virtues. Like in the great Creedence Clearwater Revival song, you could be center field. You could be pregnant. You could run towards the danger. You could be a nun, a nurse, a priest. You could be chosen. But in our times, probably only after every other button had been pushed. Our reading in Isaiah takes up not only being chosen, but being created to be a servant of God. Not simply for the purpose of gathering and restoring the tribes of Israel, but also as a light to the Gentiles and to bring salvation to the whole earth. Kings shall see and arise. Princes shall worship. The Holy One of Israel shall choose thee. You could be blessed and defined as the psalmist, who says, "In the volume of the book it is written of me, thy law is within my heart. I have become transformed, a vessel praising and thanking God." Of course, this transformation doesn't happen without consequences for some. Martin Luther King, whose memory we keep this week, was a soldier for peace and freedom and was sacrificed in the struggle for equality. There are a whole host of others like him: Maximilian Kolbe, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the Chernobyl Three, and the man who stood in front of the tank and all of those massacred in Tiananmen Square, who did what was morally right and necessary. These actions can put you on the wrong side of those in power. And it also seems to be the case that the path these people walked was already laid out by the time their moment of decision arrived. In today's gospel reading, John the Baptist's language makes this clear again, as he identifies Jesus as the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. There is no other single sentence that characterizes Jesus' entire ministry and purpose as completely as this does. But what matters in this scene is that it is someone else witnessing to this fact. John claims the authority of being God's witness to his purpose as herald, announcing the details of Jesus' baptism, as well as confessing that he did not know Jesus, nor did anyone else know that Jesus is the Son of God. The next day, John points out the Lamb of God again. 2 disciples hear him say this and decide to follow Jesus. Witnessing is center stage here. Also, the act of following is introduced as the next step. Jesus turns and sees them. These are the actions of a leader, a master. He then asks a leader's question: what are you looking for? When entering a monastic community at some point, you are going to be formally asked, what do you seek? The appropriate answer is going to be some version of, I seek the perfection to which Christ calls us. This narrative also suggests something else that a nun or a monk is seeking, and that is to take up residence in the community. The 2 disciples want to know where Jesus dwells. Not a bad question for any of us, really. We know Jesus is going to dwell with the least among us, the poor, the hungry, the unprotected, the weary, the sick, the captive, basically in Galilee. Jesus answers, come and see, which is the next level of witnessing. Join yourself to, become one with, abide with that which you give witness. Andrew, one of the 2 disciples, tells his brother about Jesus. John the Baptist's witness lives on in Andrew, and he draws Simon into the fellowship of Jesus, telling him, we have found the Messiah. Beholding them, when they return, Jesus gives Simon the name Cephas, meaning stone or rock. Both vowed religious and the newly baptized may take a new name. It is a sign that there is a new life. In this narrative, it also functions as a way in which Jesus lays claim to Simon's life and his identity. I have heard it said from this pulpit in several different ways that we as Christians are all called to some vocation. We are all chosen, grafted into the same salvation described by Isaiah, promised to Israel. All of that can be a little bit easier to accept when you think of it in terms of these larger groups, from Israel to the disciples, to the church in Corinth, and finally to those gathered at 315 Shady Avenue in the Diocese of Pittsburgh. It comes down to just you and me, and where we will walk this day, and who or what we will encounter as our lives answer the question, what are you looking for? To what will you give witness? Will it be God's law within your heart, the Lamb of God? It might be that there are many among us not aware of the graces that have been bestowed on them. There might be untold treasures they bear and have not been able to share. Often these things can only be noticed by someone else, seen through the eyes of divine love, like the witness you could be. Amen.